DJ made this one.
Nick Cannon has another podcast where he gives the impression that it's to be a safe space for Black people to speak about our issues. But it's always strange to me that the Black men who could affect change will at the most only talk about the issues. In this episode, Nick Cannon talked with Umar Johnson about interracial dating and marriage. And where Umar Johnson speaks a lot of truth on this issue, he also speaks utter nonsense in other areas. So the two of them got together and engaged in the conversation. So here we are.
And when I look at when our successful Black men tend to marry out or reproduce outside of the community, I think on some level it can be insulting to our sisters.
Okay.
I consider it insulting to the community as a whole. And as someone who works in the school, I've had to entertain conversations with Black girls who are asking Dr. Umar, is there something wrong with me? Because it appears that when you all make it, y'all always abandon the community in pursuit of your spouse. And when we look at the wealth differential between successful Black men and the women they choose to marry or reproduce with, it's very obvious that there is a significant financial gain to the woman in many times, which equals a significant financial loss to the Black community.
I've heard you say this many times.
That's
a very small percentage of the group of overall interracial dating.
Right, but either way.
And that's the majority. Now you see the athletes or the entertainers that might get them a.
But that's because there's only a few of you at that upper echelon.
Right.
But for those of you who are at the top 1%, right, income bracket, y'all go out the community to marry more than men similarly placed in their community.
That's such a small percentage, though.
Right, but Black men marry outside of their race more than every other group of men per capita.
And I'm not making this as an excuse or an example.
No, not at all. Yeah, but I'm saying that cannot be attributed purely to coincidence. So let me ask you a question directly, Brother Nick. You have beautiful African children by beautiful non-African women.
Right.
Wrong. And this is one area where Umar Johnson is really out of bounds. And he proves that he is the same disrespectful Black man that they all are. To say that a non-African woman can have African children is disrespectful, untrue, and non-factual. When in reality, what white women really do is water down the Blackness or Africanness of the children. So, because an uneducated, irresponsible Black man who hates his Blackness impregnates a white woman, her children are Black? No, sir. No, sir.
Would you say, honestly, your decision to reproduce with non-African women, was that deliberate? I don't want my sisters? Or were you a victim of unconscious self-hate programming?
Now, I've had this conversation on another one of my platforms with our brother Reza Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because online they cut it up.
Okay.
And they made it seem like I was saying.
And I didn't see that clip, by the way.
Yeah, it was a clip where it pretty much was, I was saying exactly that we've been programmed and conditioned to be that the white woman is superior.
Mm-hmm.
That's and I made all the statements that there was a time that and obviously all the sisters came from because they just saw that element of the clip.
It was on his podcast, so nobody cut it up. And what he said, he meant.
But I mean, we joke, but these are the real things.
It's real.
One of the reasons why white women are looked at as success. Because in America, we see a white woman, I couldn't have you. My daddy couldn't have you. My granddaddy couldn't have you. I would get killed even looking at you. People, if they thought I whistled at you, they would murder me, beat me, drag me down the street. So now, if I play for the NBA, I want them all.
I'll tell you this.
And I could afford them all. That's what they're thinking.
And the sad thing is that has to do with the slave master mentality.
It does,
because
but we're superseding it.
Nah.
I was your slave for this long. Now I'm gonna take your woman, and because your woman always wanted me. She always dreamt about me.
She had you in the barn.
Yeah, but that's what I think, because
She
it was
snuck and had you
because
anyway.
it was forbidden. It was forbidden, so therefore, now that it doesn't have to be forbidden, I'm gonna show that I'm the superior being. I'm the dominant original man, and I'm gonna act within that. So therefore, that's why I believe at times we're like, yo, once you get money, once you get success, I'm not following anyone else's rules. I'm gonna love who I want to love.
And the interesting part about that is, we don't want to sit here and say, well, the black woman was raped, she was murdered, she was lynched, she was dismembered, she did all these things. My child, I couldn't look at my child or to sell them to another plantation. They tarred and feathered me if my woman showed any love to me.
And to this day, the black woman is still the most mistreated person on the planet.
Exactly. And you're telling me we went through all these different things. By the way, the white woman was largely part of that.
Right.
Literally. She would help to rape the black man. She would help to buck break us. She would help to sell those of us into other plantations, etc. So you're telling me the black woman who has been there for us the whole damn time,
right?
Who was there when we were getting lynched, who was there for us when we were getting whipped every day, who was there for us to heal our wounds, to give us consolation of mind, to bring us peace and quiet of mind, to help us to get through another day.
Right.
You telling me she doesn't deserve at least, and I'm not saying after the brothers, y'all like, man, I tried. Hold on, listen, you didn't try enough, goddamn. Just like, hold on, brother. Come on, if you can give up on a black woman so easily, you don't deserve no other woman, because you have demonstrated that you can't give enough love to the number one who needs it the most, because she has been destroyed the most. She has been rejected the most. She is the number one divorced, last married, most mistreated, and you telling me that because now you have money, now I'm free to go mess with the same white woman who helped to keep me in slavery, same white woman who helped to remove the black woman from the home because she needed numbers to help to get rights from her white man when we were together as a black family to fight for civilian rights.
Okay.
You telling me you got some goddamn money and you just gonna go give it not to the black woman who has been there for you, who you have invested in and she has invested in you, but give it to somebody who has no connection to your own damn race, your ethnicity whatsoever. Because when you are marrying, when you are coming together, you are coming together with the culture, with the people. But now we're talking about too many selfish black brothers, selfish, who want to come together with a white one as an individual, as though she is the epitome of greatness. She's the most beautiful. She has the best hair. She has the best everything. No, I think I take some brown sugar over some white cancer-causing sugar any day.
I can't have both.
You can have both. That's up to you.
I'm selfish. You called it out.
And that's up to you.
I want it all.
And that is up to you.
In that sense, only.
That's why choice
I come from a very comedic place with this, but in all seriousness, all of those statements that you make, as accurate as they are, when defining love, there should be no boundaries.
Well, what is love?
Some of his baby mamas were pregnant at the same time. So he was definitely spreading himself thin. So how is he saying that he loved any of them? Nick Cannon didn't hear that white women ordered the lynchings of black men, and in many cases, they caused it. And as he said, now that black men can afford it, they'll get a white woman, even though they may be putting their lives on the line. But as long as they can get what the white man has, then nothing else matters.
You know what I mean? Like, I love
But
women.
I would push back, because as a successful black man who has children with multiple women, for almost none of them, or let me take the positive, only one of them being of African descent, does that not suggest that you clearly search out those who are not of your racial group?
So that's why I had to go here first. And I don't want to get too deep. I want to talk over anyone's head.
Absolutely.
Of phenotypes. Because in that sense, when I'm talking about the origin of race, because before there was race, there was phenotypes. And really, that's just based off of what we look like.
Okay.
So in that sense, to where I guess what the German doctor in whatever, 1700s, Dr. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, the psychologist.
Yep.
Now listen to the BS. When people explain too much and throw out names and other unnecessary information, it means they have no answer and they want you to get lost in their BS sauce.
Who created race.
Okay.
Who hit, I think it was 7 identities, and it was everything from African to Ethiopian to white, to where they could put this hierarchy system that white was on top, therefore that they could classify while everyone else was subdominant. So in that, before that infrastructure was created, and that was even during, slavery had already been established here, you know, in America before the term race was created.
Okay.
So it was phenotype in what we look like and origin in which we came from.
Okay.
And as a Pan-African, I know you understand the ideas of, even with, we've been there, even within the motherland, even in the continent, there's a hierarchy of complexionism. And there's and sometimes even
introduced by the oppressor.
Of course, this colonization, and even and then now in the terms of I've gotten in trouble for this talking about the power of melanin. In the sense of, as Tupac say, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
I would agree.
And in that sense, so yes, like I said before, there is an idea of the standard of what we believe to be beautiful. I believe a dark complected woman who embraces all of her naturalness is far superior, especially in this day, and in her beauty, than someone who is attempting to assimilate or look like someone else.
So if you have any more children, she's gonna be a chocolate goddess.
I got one. I have a daughter named Onyx. Beautiful. Now, but I'm not saying I'd have just as much love as I have for Onyx as I have for my oldest Monroe. You know
I believe that.
And in that sense, it's unfortunate because I feel like we're the only community that has to deal with complexionism at this level. And
but white supremacy introduced that into us.
Because there's the caste system and the class system that's in India. That's
right. But caste, that is true. That is true. But who introduced that into India? They were colonized by the British.
They were as well, but again, because as you remember, and it's in the books, and I don't want to say this because I don't want to, but even in the African consciousness, and it shows as we go all the way back to those conversations of when the white man did come on the continent, we looked at them as foreign and inferior.
Oh, absolutely. The white man was traditionally painted as the devil in African culture.
So
before we ever encountered him.
Right. So in that, it was never at some point, and however it happened through the colonization and all of that, this idea of beauty of a lighter complected, a thinner nose, a thinner lip individual was placed on us.
Okay. So you fell victim to that.
I don't think I did.
So he has to go back in history. He has to go back to the continent. He has to throw out names that nobody knows in order for him to explain why he prefers white women and why he wants his kids to be white. And if that's the case, why can't he just say that?
So when Onyx gets to the age where she begins to recognize race, and Brother Nick Cannon has to have that conversation with her mother and the mothers of your other children and your children, your family.
Right.
You're going to have this conversation. And when you start explaining to Onyx that your blackness is in no way a sin or a curse, it's a blessing and a power.
Absolutely.
Right? When she reflects back to you.
Her name is Onyx for a reason.
Absolutely.
Right.
And did you count how many times he said her name is Onyx for a reason? So what is the reason? To prove that he has a token black daughter in his sea of biracial children?
It's black power, actually.
Yeah.
But when she reflects back to you as her father and say, well, Dad, if this color is all that great, how did you end up to reproduce so many children with women who are not this color? What would you say to Onyx?
Dad has a problem of wanting an assortment of flavors.
Get out of here.
That's the truth. I want to taste everything. I want to know what that tastes like. I want to know what that tastes like.
All flavors of white. Because if any race has any assortment of flavors, it's the black race. One that Nick Cannon avoided. And somehow the token black woman should explain away his actions.
Instagram looks
absolutely
exactly the same.
There's nothing more regal, more honorable, more earth-shattering, more attention grabbing,
Yes.
that when a chocolate black woman walks into the room, and I'm gonna add natural hair to that because that's my bias, but when a chocolate natural African woman walks into a room full of self-confidence and owns it, the whole room bows down, not literally, but in a metaphorical way, because that right there is God. And what I mean by that, when I say the chocolate African woman is God, she is the original complexion of the first person God put on the planet Earth. And since the black woman is the only woman with the mitochondrial DNA, the Eve gene, and with the chocolate African woman being the most melanated because that's the most original, she is God. And I'm saying that not to deny anyone else their divinity.
We all come from her.
Absolutely. We all come from her. And so it's just so hurtful for me, being a psychologist, working in the schools where I see the shame that a lot of our chocolate princesses endure because they've been miseducated against the fact that when you look in the mirror, you shouldn't see something ugly.
Right.
You should see the most beautiful being on earth.
So you have to ask yourself, how smart can black men really be if they are given the first choice to marry and procreate with the original woman, but they choose a watered-down copy?
Do you not feel any guilt at all for the fact you did not provide them with that wholesome example of showing them how much a black woman deserved to be loved on by not choosing one yourself?
So I've got to unpack this in many ways because sitting on a psychologist's couch, yes, I feel guilty.
Okay.
Nick Cannon says he does feel guilty for not choosing black women to have children with, but he will still go on to lie and make excuses as to why he chose white women.
Now it may be,
and I don't doubt
and it may be ignorant because I'm not thinking about what the community is gonna think. I'm doing it because, man, I fell in love with this woman, regardless of her complexion, regardless of her race, regardless of her upbringing.
But do you have an obligation to the community, though? You married her because you loved her.
No,
but do you have? So
because I get this all the time. You can't talk black and sleep white. You can't be black in the streets and white in the sheets.
This video was originally supposed to be about Nick Cannon and the multitude of reasons that he gives as to why he chose white women to have babies with, then insists that his biracial children are black. But as I listened to Umar Johnson speak, and how he also claims that the womb of a white woman can produce black children, and this comes right after praising the black woman as God. And while Nick Cannon is just a clown in his beliefs, Umar Johnson's message is dangerous because he is a doctor. But he is also a liar and a deceiver.
I love it. Can I offer this up? Just because I'm sitting on your couch. I'm right here. I need the help and the understanding. And again, by no means is this an excuse, but I want to unpack it. Could it be that my mother, who is of mixed race, and because I was thinking about this when you asked me, am I, have I been programmed or conditioned to go after a certain type of woman? If my mother, who is a lighter skinned mixed woman, if that was my example as a matriarch, and then even in her mother being of another race, and on my father's side, his mother having, as we all know, because, and then as we go down our lineage, we all gonna be mixed with something. And I know as a, Pan-Africanist, there's an idea of holding on to the diaspora.
Yes, sir.
But the African American, and which is a whole different classification, a black person in America is mixed with everything.
Right.
So for anyone to sit and say,
but those mixtures does not take away from the fact you're still African.
100%.
Because we're the strongest DNA.
100%. So if people say, again, because you said you got a lot of this ideology because you look and see what you came from your mother.
Yes.
So if I look and my mother looks and has the complexion of a look that is maybe similar to a lot of the mothers of my children. There's been a lot of conversations where they talk about, my mother and Mariah
Okay. Do they look similar in complexion?
Yes.
Okay.
They look like they cut from the same cloth.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And various, if we're just talking about complexionism, psychologically, would you think that maybe is that more of the reason?
He's lying about his mother being mixed race. He's lying about his grandmother being mixed race. He's lying that his mother looks like Mariah Carey. Nick Cannon's mother is a black woman with a perm. Why is he lying?
But one of the things I respected about Sister Mariah, especially in this atmosphere where so many mixed race African children would rather be called biracial than black.
Yeah.
Mariah told the world, I'm black.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Facts.
Why is it so important that Mariah Carey identify as black? Just because a deadbeat black man got her white mother pregnant? This is a picture of Mariah Carey and Taylor Swift. Point out the difference between these two white women.
But that takes me to another question for you.
Yeah.
As you navigate that terrain with your children, will Nick Cannon be unapologetic about letting them know they're black?
100%.
Okay.
That's easy.
Or will you get pushback from their mothers?
Nah, they're black. They know, again, because of the society.
Okay.
My children are black.
Right.
And that's even that, because to me, that conversation.
But are they mothers on board?
But no, but that's that conversation about generational wealth that we got to throw out the window, because everybody says, oh, if you go date outside your race, then where's the general wealth conversation?
Okay.
Once they have me as the father, as whether it's the law or whether it's the one drop rule or whether in America, you are black.
That's true. But do their mothers support?
100%.
Okay. Yeah. So they have no problem with you letting them know you're black. Okay. Okay. Because sometimes.
No, they want to be called mixed or I'm just much as this, as that.
Sometimes the non-African mother of the mixed race African children are not comfortable with. In fact, I had a debate. It was respectful with a white woman at one of my lectures in Tallahassee or Tampa.
Right.
And we debated because she says, I do not want my daughter, who has a black father, I do not want her identifying as black. I want her identifying as mixed race. And you know what I had to explain to her?
What did you explain?
Because you are racist. You cannot admit that a black child came from your womb.
Because there are so few upstanding men in the black community, I try to hold on to any redeeming qualities that Umar Johnson may have. Because with his background and education, and his ability to command attention when he speaks, he could have been a great asset to the black community. But as we see, so many times black men turn to dust. With Nick Cannon, he came up with more explanations than anybody asked for as to why the mother of his children are white. Then Umar Johnson, in one breath, praises the black woman and says she is the most beautiful and she is to be celebrated, and praises her as the original woman. But then in the same breath, he says that the womb of a white woman can produce black children, the same as a black woman. You will never hear a white man say that a black woman can birth white children, even if the children are his. The disrespect and disloyalty from black men comes so easily. And black men like Nick Cannon and Umar Johnson want you to accept the biracial product of their disloyalty as black, with the understanding that black women are not really needed in the procreation of black children.